Welcome to Abundance Coaching TV. Abundance Coaching TV is life coaching TV that makes a difference. So, because you're here right now watching us live or watching us as a replay, this is TV that is going to make a difference in your life. So, I'm not saying it kind of might or it should. I'm saying that it is going to make a difference in your life. Why do I know that? Well, we put a lot of work into this TV program, and it's something that comes out of the passion that we have. And I say we because there's a team of us that work on this. But the passion that we have for you to move forward and break through things and have really awesome transformations. So what we have today is a really intriguing episode. And I say intriguing because look at the title right here. Women do it 3 times more than men ask questions. Now, what does that mean? I'm sure there's 1,000 things that could go off in your head. It's like, okay, I get the title. What is this really about? What am I watching? Well, you're going to find out very soon. Let's succinctly describe this episode as an episode where you will discover more about the relationship between men and women. An episode where you'll also discover more about the relationship between men and women in business. So if this intrigues you, inspires you in any way, I encourage you to check out the whole episode. In about 10 minutes, I am going to be introducing to you Judy Haberman. And Judy is going to just blow the lid off this thing, and this conversation will definitely inspire you, enlighten you. And I know that that's true because I know Judy, and she is very inspirational, and she's also an expert on the topic. So here's a few of my thoughts between men and women. How about we just dive in? Well, first of all, I'm married. I've been married for just over 5 years, and I have a 3-year-old and a 2-year-old. So wherever you're at in your marriage or not being married, or if you have a partner right now, wherever you're at in your life, this will hopefully help you in some way at that level. But I can speak to my level before being married and, of course, the level that I'm at now. Being married is amazing. It's wonderful. I love it. Me and my wife are so in love with each other. And part of the reason that is because we continually commit to each other. We continually commit to growing together, to communicate with each other. And we actually commit to this right here. And I'll just make sure that you can read this. This title of this book is called The 5 Love Languages. It's a very popular book. And this particular book made a massive difference with my wife and my relationship when we were courting. And the reason is that it helped us understand each other. It helped us understand before we got into marriage where we were at. Now, I've used this book in different instances as well in my coaching. And when I coach with this book, especially with married people, I've found that there's been great results as well. And in fact, a lot of the time, the results are a bit overwhelming because one spouse will find out something that they've been living with their partner for so long, and all of a sudden it's just like, oh, wow, I didn't know that that's why they acted this way or that's why they did things that way. The 5 love languages in this book are well articulated with their words of affirmation, quality time, receiving gifts, acts of service, and physical touch. When you understand what your spouse's love language is you understand them more deeply at the core. And for those of you who've watched many of my episodes, I often talk about core values and understanding yourself, and knowing others. Well, who better would it be to know than the person that you're most intimate with, and that is usually your spouse. And let's talk about that a little bit. Here's a quote from the book. We must be willing to learn our spouse's primary love language if we are to be effective communicators of love. That's by Gary Chapman, the author of this book. So that's one great resource that I would share with you that really helped my wife in my relationship early on. She understood that I was quality time and words of affirmation and physical touch. And because she knew that about me, those love languages were how she related to me. And when she spent quality time with me, I really got a lot of energy and I felt loved. And other people that with strong words of affirmation, they would say, well, a compliment of any kind would just like fuel their love tank for even a day or a month or a long time. So words of affirmation, that might be yours. And if it's acts of service, then it certainly could be you just giving gifts or serving by doing the dishes or cleaning up or making sure that the other person's life is just easier by you serving. And certainly if it's physical touch, it's the physical acts of touch and what that means. And of course, gifts. So just look at this book again and look at the title, The 5 Love Languages. There's 5 of them that he discusses in this book. And if you haven't read it yet, I highly recommend it. Now, getting to business now, what is the difference between men and women when it comes to business? I've heard lots of stats out there, and I have some friends that are in some of the high-up recruiting companies that are out there. And I'll just quote Connie Thanasoulis, who's actually the owner or part owner of Six Figure Start, which is a recruiting company out of New York City. And one of the things that she told me was that when women are in a situation of asking for a raise, they will downplay the raise very often. And when it's a man in the same situation, they'll often just like say it the way it is and just go for it. So what she also described is that when the employer would come back and say have a rebuttal for the person asking for the raise, that's usually when the resolve came in for the woman. They would be like, okay, well, I guess because they had this reason, I guess I'm justified to just keep the salary that I'm at or something like that. Whereas the man will push forward. And that was just an interesting stat that she offered. And she dug deeper into it, into the psychology, into the emotions and how women are wired. And good, bad, whatever, it was just a stat that she brought out, and I thought that it was really interesting. Other things that you could definitely point out is in our society right now, how things maybe are more equal, how in a job, how there's certain aspects for a woman in a certain position or a man in a certain position, good, bad, or otherwise. We have to know that there's differences though. And the point of this is not just establishing, yes, we know that there's differences. It's to establish the common ground and establish the understanding. The understanding so that you can have an amazing life and you can have an amazing life also in business, whether you're male or female. Here's a few of the personal ideas that I came up with. And if you're not on our newsletter, this is something I put out on our newsletter. Our newsletter is rich. I send out amazing articles, and I say amazing, yes, I write them, but it's also something that I want to give back to you because it's important for me to be giving back. That's one of my values. It's a legacy value for me. So if you don't know about it already, you can find on this page the subscription form. You can put your name and email address in there. We'll give you updates. We'll give you incredible articles. And here's the article I sent out today in prep for this episode. The differences between men and women, pay attention. So there's a few differences between men and women, all right? So one of the things that I talked about was the balancing act that women are capable of doing. And I talked about women like my wife going and shopping around for the regular things that you might think as a guy, like shirts or just clothing. Whereas the women will look at the delicate care. My wife will always look at the delicate care and how to wash the product. Man, I never thought that that would be something that I'd need to do. And she looks at the type of fabric that it is and all of these different things that I just don't even think about. And that's how she determines how she can use it. She also looks at how this particular product will work in the house. So if it would be durable enough to be used or worn in the house. And when it comes to accessories, it's very different as well. It's one major difference. When I go to the mall and I'm looking for something, hey, I have a little bit of fashion sense. Hopefully, I got the tie on today. And partly for the episode, you don't see me in the tie all the time here on the show. And I'm really looking for style and fashion. That's me. And I think that a lot of other guys can relate to that. Also, when you're looking at the men and women with the balancing act, you're looking at how a woman's capable of doing so much more. We talk about the term multitasking, but what I see with my wife is she's able to handle the children as well as cook, as well as handle any of the phone calls and other distractions that come up, and then a yelling kid comes into the room and she's able to calm that person down and bring order or send the kid to timeout or whatever's needed while still cooking and doing the other things, and then at the meantime she's cleaning and doing things in the home to get things done. What she's really able to do is to prioritize and to prioritize on the fly. It's a little bit different than multitasking. Whereas I've done the same thing where it's my night to do whatever, and man, I'm hopeless almost. I'm not hopeless, but it's not the same thing because I am struggling to do all the things that my wife is capable of doing, and I think that that's also a gender thing as well. Okay? So, and then the last thing is the vulnerability aspect. They're vulnerable. She's vulnerable with the kids, vulnerable with the boys, vulnerable in so many different ways. And it's just incredible to see how she gives and she nurtures. And it's a different makeup. So understanding the opposite sex, understanding each other is incredible. We're going to be talking from a woman's point of view, but also going to be talking about communicating as a whole in business and relationships. We're just going to show a quick video here, and then we'll be live with Judy Halberman. And look forward to this conversation. It's going to be incredible. I'll see you in just a few minutes. When you were younger, you dreamed about your life. You believed that you would be able to achieve greatness and that you would become incredible. You were a winner, and you would defend your dream against any challenges. Somewhere, you may have lost some of that winning spirit, and the champion in you may have faded. Your life coach will help you become that champion again. You are not expected to battle through life alone. Making positive changes takes guidance and direction. Your coach will support you and pick you up when you get knocked down. Your coach will stand in your corner and back you when you feel weak. Your coach will inspire you when you need direction and provide you with wisdom that will put your goals back on track. Partner with a champion whose goal is to see you soar to the summit of your dreams. At Abundance Coaching, our goal is to take your great and make it greatness. Hi, I'm Scott F., and I believe that each of us can live awesome lives that are filled with abundance. Abundance is believing that you are more than enough, you have more than enough, and that more than enough is coming to you in the future. Having abundance in life is about allowing yourself to find harmony in every area of your life. Abundance is not a destination. It is a mindset and an awesome way of life, and you can have it too. You will be empowered and encouraged by our life coaching approach. You will get clarity in what you really want out of life and get what you want faster. We believe that life coaching is about having intentional, purposeful, and powerful conversations that are focused on you moving forward. Together, we will push through the obstacles that block you from reaching your full potential. Do you want to realize an authentic, purposeful, and powerful way of living? Do you need a change? Do you want more abundance in life? Let's start the process that will take your great and make it greatness. All right, and welcome here, Judy. Good to see you.
It's awesome to be here. I'm so excited.
Yeah, woohoo! We got the gender expert on the show, ladies and gentlemen. All the answers between men and women will be solved by the end of the hour.
All of them.
Yes. We're
I'm
putting
in.
you up on
I'm
a
in.
pedestal. We're ready to get all the answers right now, Judy.
Okay, ready?
We're ready to go. Awesome. So you are a gender expert, though. Can you tell us, like, what does that mean? Like, what do you really do?
I was given the title of gender expert on Fox News because what I actually do is I talk about men and women. And it's pretty interesting because men and women are different. And I know that's a pretty profound statement, but we're different. We are different. That's about it. So what I talk about is the differences. I talk about how to incorporate the differences personally, professionally. It doesn't matter. We talk about the things that happened when you were little and how it's, brought into your adult life. And some things are just stereotypical and some things, you can fix.
Yeah, definitely. Woohoo! So you were on Fox News. You've been all over the media and you run your own radio show.
I do.
So tell us how you got into all of this.
I think one of the things that you have to know about when you're in business is you better be open. And you can't have blinders on because I have to say in the very beginning I had these strict blinders on. I was only going to work in this industry and I was only going to do this and whatever. And somebody asked me if I would go on to a radio show, be interviewed. And I thought, well, whatever. I mean, it's not in my little triangle here. I don't know if I really want to do it. But I decided. And it was fun. And then another one came and then another one came. And the guy that does my PR started pushing me into different directions that I was very uncomfortable in. For instance, the election, this past election.
Yes.
Okay, I am not a strategist. I don't care how you want to mold me, I'm not a strategist. I don't understand some of the things. I don't want to understand some of the things. However, he kept saying to me, you have to start getting into that conversation. And I said, no, I don't want to do that. And as the weeks went on and it was more about the gender gap, he said to me, you don't have to say who you're voting for. You don't have to say any kind of statistics. Just get into the conversation. And I thought, all right, I'll try. I had more fun than I can tell you. Because I was on, one day I had 27 interviews across the country. And they're all asking me the same question about the gender gap. And so that's how that started. And it's the same thing with my radio program. Somebody asked me to be on a radio program as for an interview, and it just blossomed from there.
Wonderful.
So you need to be open when there's opportunities presented to you.
That's great. That's great. So we're going to talk a little bit more about your radio show, your book, and a whole bunch of other things at the end here. But I think that what people really came here for is they were intrigued by your title. They were intrigued. What is this? Am I listening to this correctly? The title is, tell us about the title and tell us about what it means.
Okay, so I was speaking at a large conference, and when I was all done, and I'm always billed as selling in a skirt. When I was all done, this gentleman came up to me and said, I'd like you to talk to my group, but you have to change the name of your company. And I said, I have to change the name of my company? He said, yeah, because if I put selling in a skirt, none of the men will show up. And I said, well, that's silly. That doesn't even make sense because it is mostly about men. And he said, you need to change it. And I said, well, what if I change the name of my talk as opposed to the name of my company? And he said, all right, but be clever. Well, that to me sounded like a challenge. So I said, okay, I got it. How about if I say, women do it 3 times more than men? And he said, what does that mean? I said, what do you care? So he said, okay, I like it, but what does it mean? I said, you can put ... asking questions. Because women actually ask 3 times more questions than men. Well, he put it out there and he didn't do the ... and the room was filled with men, waiting to hear what it was about. The women already knew, so they were there anyway, but there were so many men there. So it was funny. So I use it all the time now.
Right on. There you go. Okay, so now I told you, Judy, that you weren't supposed to tell me what this meant. I put it out there on my email. I put it out there as like, what does this mean? I'm gonna have to clarify it for my list now. It's like, what are you sending out to me, Scott? That's great. So 3 times. How is that a stat that who came up with that stat?
there's a statistic. I mean, it's everywhere. If you talk to anybody that's in neurolinguistics or just gender differences, they'll tell you women ask 3 times more questions than men. Women, they actually speak more words per day than a man, but we actually ask 3 times more questions because we need to know everything. We need to know why everything works. We need the beginning, we need the middle, and we need the end. We need the whole picture. Men need the beginning and the end. They don't care about the middle. If they want to know the middle, they'll ask you, but they want the beginning and the end.
Okay, that describes so much for me. When I go shopping, I know exactly why. I just look, I said this at the beginning. I looked, I bought this shirt because I looked through the thing and I saw, okay, I like that color, and I looked at the price, and I looked at the fit when I tried it on, and I bought that shirt. And that was it. Beginning and end. Whereas my wife, she would go into the store and she would look at all of the different things like on the label, and she would ask about all of those type of questions, and you just answered my question for me.
Yeah, but there's more to it than that. She's not just looking at, how to clean, how to wash it and dry it and whatever else. There's other things that we think about when we're buying something in the store, like who's going to see us in it? How is it going to look? Does it make me look fat? Does it make me look thin? What was the last time somebody wore something like this? And is it too expensive? Whatever. We have like a million questions before we even walk in the store.
And is somebody else going to be wearing the same thing at the party when I try this on?
That's right. That's right. And so you never want to buy something like in a department store because that's the big, if that happens, you just don't even want to be at that party.
Yeah. Okay. Wow, we're answering some questions already. We're going to get to all the questions here by the end of the hour, right?
Maybe.
I'm putting a promise out there for you.
Yeah, okay.
So tell me about your company. Selling in a Skirt. Where did that come from? What's the reason behind the company? What's the deal with that?
Okay, so I've been in sales for over 30 years. And in that entire time, other than 2 years, I was a 1099 independent contractor. I worked straight commission. So people loved when I worked with them because, you want to eat, you have to, kill your food. So I did that. I was very successful, extremely successful, but I worked for all men. I was in male-dominated industries my entire life. I was in roofing, and I was in security systems, and I was in insurance, but I was the only female. So as I got more successful in the businesses, I started to change things that would work for me, because as a female, you can't do the things that men do, and vice versa. Well, the last few years, I was asked to move to Texas and to build a training department for a company. They've never had a training department. They had 200 offices that did things 200 different ways. So the purpose for myself and some of the other trainers was to bring consistency. And so I did. So I moved to Texas, and now I become an employee. Very foreign to me.
All right.
Never been an employee before. And so I did that, but what I found was it wasn't right for me. So I stayed for 2 years, and then I resigned. And when I resigned, I tried to think, what is it that I would have looked for when I was in sales that would have helped me in my business? And guess what it was? I would have looked for a mentor, a coach, somebody that would have described sales in my language. So I started selling in a skirt, and I thought, I'm just going to make it easier for people. However, originally the business was for women only. But I had all these men that would say to me, hang on, what about us? Well, the biggest challenge that men had was they couldn't find these amazing women. And if they did, how did they recruit them and train them and motivate and retain them?
Right.
So that's what I started doing. So that's how Selling in a Skirt came to be. That's who we are. That's who I am, and that's what I do.
You brought up an interesting point, Judy. I used to work in a sales environment selling computers. And when we were in that environment, I was an assistant manager, and the manager and I always talked about how it would be so great to find a female to work on our sales floor with us. And we would be so open, we would have craved to have just to break up the testosterone with all the, you can imagine all of the technicians in the back, and then 5 salespeople, all guys,
right.
10 guys in one building. It's just, it was a lot. But we couldn't find somebody resume-wise that would have qualified. Is there a reason for that, or what's the, why might that be?
don't know if, first of all, male or female, they have to qualify.
Yeah.
If they're not the right fit, they're not the right fit. And I always tell, I help people recruit. And what I tell them to do is when you see a resume, cut off the name. Just cut off the name and see if that person is qualified. Then if it's a female, great, or if it's male, great. But that's the first piece of it. But a lot of times the company is not attracting women. Because women don't look for the same things that men look for. When you look for a job, you want to make sure you can support your family. You want to make sure that, if you have any big clients that you might have access to them. You don't really care about, a cushy office per se. You want a nice office, but you don't care about the furnishings. You like the window. When we look for a job, what we're looking for is a home. We're looking for something that complements our home at home, because we don't want to do this all the time. We're looking for the chance for advancement. We're looking for training. We're looking for, just the culture. So if you're going to entice women, you have to speak their language. That's what it is. And the other part is, if you would have had one woman, you would have had more women.
Yeah.
Because all you need is one woman to succeed. And that's what you bring in. I always tell people, when you're advertising you're looking for women, you can't say I want women, because that's an HR violation.
Wow.
However, when you're advertising, what's the first thing you look at? Is your website. That's the first thing. Well, if you have a successful woman, highlight her. Because if I'm looking for a job and I'm looking at your company and I see a successful woman, I'm like, whoa, I can do that.
Right on.
A little different. Yeah.
That's great advice. Okay, I'm going to skip to one of the questions that you asked me to talk about. How do you cultivate relationships in a business?
It's not any different than relationships at home. A relationship is built on trust. And we all know that. We've all been brought up about, you work with people that you trust, you work with people that you know, you work with people that do the right thing all the time. And what you want to make sure is you want to make sure that people come back to your business.
Right.
So they might come in once, but you want them to come back. You need to be approachable. You want people to be able to talk to you. You need to sit down and you need to develop this relationship. And in 30 years of sales, I have never sold anybody anything. And I was always the top producer, because what I did was I built relationships.
Yep.
I started a conversation. And that's how you start to build this relationship. You ask questions. And it's not just, do you need this? When do you want it? How do you want to pay for it? It's open-ended questions. So I'll be able to say, instead of saying to you, Scott, well, do you need this insurance policy? I'll say, tell me why it's important to protect your family. Well, what I've just made you do is I've made you speak to me.
Yes.
And so we start a conversation and we build a relationship. And it's really not that hard to do. But the main thing you have to remember is you have to be interested, not interesting.
Right.
Big difference.
Yes. So what's the big gap then between women and men in any kind of industry? What is the big gap?
Well, for all the last, 20, 30 years or so, sales were strictly for men. They were designed by men, they were facilitated by men, and men actually did the job. And it was very transactional. So what that means is, no easier way to say it's get in, get out, and get the check is what it was. And maybe we'll build a relationship. Women are exactly the opposite. The way society is, the way the economy is, it's morphed into being more relational. So what women need to do is women build a relationship first, and then they decide if they want to do business with you. But one of the things that women fall prey to a lot is we build a lot of relationships,
right,
and then we don't close the deal.
Okay.
Because what happens is we forget that we're not just building a friendship here. Because the purpose of a sale is to actually close it. So you can ask all the questions you want, but you have to actually be able to say, okay, let's get down to business now. Here's the solution. How do we proceed? So that's the big gap. And it takes longer for women to make a decision than it does men. Because men are more facts and figures, features and benefits, and bullet points. Women want the whole story. Tell me it in picture form. Tell me how this is going to affect me, how it's going to affect my family. So a lot of people like to deal more with men because it's easier and faster, but women give them long-term relationships.
Right on. So you mentioned to me earlier that there were some struggles that you had in business, and This is where things get real. Everybody's had struggles, so I'll just take a pause here and just to include you as part of the audience into this part of it. What are you getting out of it so far? And I'm asking this rhetorically because I know that you can't respond to me, but what are you getting out of this conversation so far? Are you a woman in a workplace right now? Are you a man in a workplace? And what are you getting out of the conversation of the differences and how women are more relational with their selling, etc.? And how then can we work together in a better way? So I just have to just ponder that as a question too. So, Judy, what are the big struggles that you have had in your business? And if you wouldn't mind sharing.
Well, I had a bunch. I did have a bunch. First and foremost, it was being the only woman. And I think that's a big challenge because, let's just say I asked a lot of questions. My nickname was the Question Queen. So when I'd walk into the room, people would roll their eyes. They're thinking, oh my God, another question. She can't possibly have one more. Because I needed to know how everything worked, why it went in this order. How would you, sell something? What would be the return on it? And it was different because I was the only female. So that was my biggest struggle because I was always like fighting that uphill battle. And I didn't always win, but it is what it is. But my biggest challenge was, and this is really sad, was I had to admit the fact that I wasn't everything to everybody. I thought just because I had this great program and just because I'm a fun person and I love myself, I thought, if you build it, they'll come. But that's like old sales. That's not how it is. You actually have to be very focused. You have to identify who your target audience is. You have to make sure that you're hitting the quality people, not just everybody. And one of the struggles that women have is that we don't want to leave anybody out. So we always think, well, whatever we're doing is good for everybody. And that's not true.
Right.
So I really had to, bring those blinders back and be more focused. But the other thing is a big lesson. This is for everybody, not just women. This is for men and women. You have to market yourself. If you don't market yourself, what's the point? I mean, what people say, well, if you do this online, you can earn money while you sleep. And it becomes organic. No. Yeah, that can happen. But first you have to market yourself. Whatever you do, you have to do it on a consistent basis. If you're writing a blog, or if you're writing a newsletter, if you're doing if you're doing Twitter, whatever you're doing, you have to do it on a consistent basis because your clients may not be looking for what you have the one time that you put out a post.
Right.
But if you do it on a consistent basis, chances are when they're looking, your name's going to be right in front of them. So you have to put marketing on your calendar as an activity that you have to do. And as much as I am a sales trainer, it was do what I say, not what I do, because I didn't do that all the time. I just said, well, I'm awesome. They'll come. It doesn't work like that.
You had to keep on putting yourself out in front of people.
All the time.
Wow. Give me 1 second.
Okay.
You and I have a mutual friend. You might recognize her.
Laurel, of course.
So here's another example of a woman, and for the people that don't know this, I know you're in Laurel's big table, right?
Big table.
Big table, and that's where the millionaires go and play. And Laurel is the creator of a lot of systems, but the big book that she has is The Millionaire Maker. And I really appreciate her story of how she came really to be as far as somebody who was influential as a woman, and how she worked with Robert Kiyosaki with the cash flow game, etc. at the very beginning. And she really gave herself 9 months when she was pregnant to say, hey, I'm going to become successful. I have to. I pretty much have no choice but to become self-sufficient within this period of time.
Right.
So you know her story really well because you work intimately with her. What do you think was the difference for Laurel, and how can other women follow those type of footprints? Because it's not always easy for a woman to do those things.
Okay, so she did exactly what I just said. She became focused. She knows that she can't help everybody. She would like to, and she probably could in some way help almost everybody with money, but that's not her audience. Her audience are people that are entrepreneurs. If you are a corporate person, she's going to make you quit your job So unless you're ready to do that, that's not her client. But she's very persistent, and she markets very well, and she basically tells you the answer to your problem. You know, well, and I think she did it when I met you, was where she asked the questions like, how many of you do this, how many of you do that, and you had to sit down if you know.
Yeah.
And so she's narrowing the market. And you notice that there was probably 3 or 5 people left standing out of 80.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so she knows that of the other people, they weren't doing what they needed to do in order to get to the position that they wanted to be in. Because if you came to her class, you basically wanted to make money.
Yep.
Okay, so if you did not answer her questions the way they were supposed to be answered, then you needed work. And so she just told you, without even saying that you need to hire me or you need to come to my classes, she just told you she had the answers and you didn't. So she's very good about getting her message out there. And that's what it is. She markets herself really well, but she's also an expert.
Yes.
And so whatever you do, you need to be the expert in that field. Like, I'm a gender expert. Okay, that's who I am. If people have questions about men and women, they call me. Now, do I have all the answers? I don't, but I also know resources. Same thing with Laurel. If she doesn't have an answer to something, she has all those other people that, come to Big Table, that this person is franchise and this person is commercial real estate. She's not an expert in everything. She's an expert in what she does, but she has the resources.
Right on.
Yeah.
Right on. So there you go. So be an expert at what you do. I love that. It's so powerful. There's a piece that I sometimes use with my coaching, and it's the 4 keys to becoming excellent at what you do. The first key is really just being a master at something.
Right.
And that's exactly it. If there's so many people out there, don't you think that they're kind of good at a few things, and they're not really good at anything?
Right. And that's one of the problems, that you have to pick something that you're good at. I always have this example. People that teach sales that have never sold a thing should not be teaching sales.
Right.
Because you don't know how it feels. It's the same way, I know, and I always laugh about this, like a male gynecologist. When he says, this is going to hurt, how does he know it's going to hurt? You know what I mean? So it's the same thing in sales, the same thing in, did you ever have a coach?
I have a coach. Yeah, I have a coach.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. So if you didn't ever have a coach, how could you coach?
Yes.
You know what I mean? If all these top elite athletes, they all have coaches.
They do.
But the coaches also did what they did. So you have to find someone that you can relate to, and you have to be the best at what it is that you're choosing to do. Do what you love, and love what you do. And then there's there's this great book that I used to give all my agents, Do What You Love and the Money Will Follow. If you're doing something just for the money, it's the wrong reason to do it. If you're doing something, you're starting a business because your best friend started a business and they're making money, doesn't work. You have to do what you love and what you're good at. You write a book, you're not going to write a book. If I'm an IT person, I'm not going to write a book about, flowers. That's not my expertise. But if I wrote a book about men and women, that's my life. I lived the life. That was my niche. I lived it.
That's right.
So I can do that. That's what I'm saying. So figure out where you're the expert.
That's fantastic. And figure out your why.
Absolutely.
Like, people don't know what their why, like, why do you need to figure out your why is. It's like 80,000 hours is the stat that I keep on hearing and I keep on reading. That's the typical amount of hours that people work in their lifetime. And the stats for how many people are frustrated and don't like their job is ridiculous.
Absolutely.
Now, part of it, in fairness, has to do with their attitude would suck in any job.
Wow. And there's a lot of people that are victims anyway. I mean, you know that. And so they're not going to be happy no matter what. They're going to be happy complaining. And if they did something they liked, they'd have nothing to complain about, and then what?
That's exactly it. But there's so many people that are good people that have absolutely miserable attitudes just because of their job. And it's like no reason. And the problem with that too is that people get divorced because of things like that. Not because of that directly usually, but it's because of the attitude that comes home. And then the only person that you're venting to is that other person. And then the drain just happens and then other things take place.
Well, and that's an interesting point, because one of the things people always say to me is, in the economy that we were in when I started my business. Now, I'm going into my 4th year. So just think about 3 years ago. Okay? I mean,
Yeah.
it hasn't changed a lot, but people say, like, how could you possibly have left your job? Because I had a big job and I made a lot of money. How could you just walk away from that? And my answer to that is always, how could I not?
Right.
Not only wasn't I doing what I was supposed to do, not only wasn't I passionate about it, I was sick. I was getting sick. I could have taken out stock in Excedrin, because I was taking 10 to 12 doses of Excedrin every single day.
Whoa.
Every day. So when I resigned, a couple of weeks later, I got up in the morning and I thought, it's really weird. I feel so different. I didn't have any Excedrin in my body. I was done. And I felt like, wow, okay, now this is how I'm supposed to feel. So there's people that are miserable in their positions and they're too afraid to get out of them.
Right.
I was afraid I wasn't going to survive if I stayed in it. So you just have to take a risk. My son is thinking of some things right now and he's ready to jump, but he's trying to be a little bit more responsible than I guess his mom was, and just make sure that he's ready for it, because he knows where his passion is. So he's just lining himself up. And, and I always tell people, like when I volunteer at Laurel's, for team leaders and whatever, people always say to me, well, how can you possibly just leave your corporate position? And I said, you know what, you'll know when you're ready. But in the meantime, think about it this way. You're getting paid every single week or every other week. When you take that money, put it in the bank, and just say, ooh, my company's investing in my new business, whatever that may be. And it's a different mindset, because there's an end in sight.
That's great. Yes. And what inspires you to go to those things when you're volunteering? Why do you do it?
It's
You're
really
taking
weird.
on 5 days and you're flying there.
I know, and we don't get paid to do that.
I know.
We don't get. So and I discovered this a couple of times. Every time I go, I hear the same things but differently, because you're at a different point in your life, different point in your business. When I left the one where you are, I came back, and on the plane going home, I redid my sales funnel again.
Cool.
Because I thought, well, okay, there's a couple of things that I could really move around here. And I redid my sales funnel, and I thought, well, why didn't I do that, 3 years ago? Because I wasn't supposed to. So you go there. First of all, that's the big piece, is that you hear things differently. But second of all, there are people that are in the position that you are in,
Right.
and they're scared to death.
And they're scared to death. Right.
And so if you can say to them, okay, here's how it could be. Here's how we could work together. Here's how I can help you. Here's how, whatever. And all of a sudden, they relax. But it's not for everybody. Being an entrepreneur is not for everybody. It isn't.
Right,
My husband likes stability. He likes a job where he knows he's getting paid and whatever. He likes the idea of being an entrepreneur if somebody would bring him all the work. Say, okay, you're going to be a coach. Here's all your clients. You don't have to look for them. Because he's not a hunter like that. He is amazing at analyzing people and strategizing, but he likes stability.
Right.
Me, could care less. I don't care if I don't have stability. That's why we work out really well together.
Oh, this is great. So, this is the question that I was super pumped about. I told you this on an email. This is the one I really want to know. You talk about giving back. Why is it so important for you to give back?
Well, a couple of things go on here. When I'm listening to somebody, I need to make sure that what they're saying is valuable to me, right, and is relevant to me. So I always make sure that what I do is relevant and informative and valuable. I don't ever want people to think that they have to listen to me, that they're obligated to listen to me. I don't want to do that. And so when I left corporate, that's when I had this aha moment. What if I could make things relevant for people? What if I could do this? And so, as I said, it was really to be more of a coach for women. And then now I'm a coach for men, and I do training and everything. However, there's also a group of young women that are coming out of school, whether it's high school or college. And the schools always think that your employer is going to teach you everything. And your employer always thinks that your school teaches you everything. And in fact, nobody teaches you. You don't know about real life. You don't know how to sell yourself. You don't know how to write a resume. None of that stuff.
Right.
So I feel it's important that if I could give back, if I could help just one person and help them change their life or help them find the right path, that's all I want to do. I mean, honestly, I have 5 young women that I mentor, and 2 of them were actually in a formal program that I was the mentor, but the other ones were just informal mentoring, and it was the most amazing thing ever because I learned so much from them and they learned so much from me, and it's this relationship that you would never find it anywhere else. It's like having other children, you know? So to me, it's very important that if there would have been one woman in my life, just one, in any of my positions that would have said, give me your hand, let me help you, let me pull you up, let me do it for you, my entire life would have been different. But there wasn't. There were no women.
Yeah.
So as I started getting successful, people from around the country would call and say, hey, could you talk to this woman? She's coming into the business and she doesn't know any other women. So I became like the company mentor.
Cool.
So, yeah. So it's really important for me to be able to give back.
Oh, that's excellent. That's fantastic. So with giving back as well, there's a question that I ask on the show, and you didn't know about this in advance, but I ask everybody this question.
Okay.
And it's because I really want to get people's on-the-spot feedback. All right? So you ready for it?
Yep.
What are you looking for in life?
Okay, so can I just tell you a little story?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Go for it.
So at the very last big table, at the very end, you have to stand up and you have to say what your goals are for the following year. So this was 2011. And so I talked about where I thought my business was going to be and where I wanted it to be. And I made this very bold statement. And I said, I'm getting married in 2012. And everybody's giving me like high fives and everything. And then people were saying, we didn't even know you were dating. And I wasn't. Okay, I didn't even have a boyfriend. I nothing. But I made this statement because I felt at that point in my life, I wanted to be who I used to be. And I lost me through the years. I totally lost me. I was so caught up in, bringing up my kids and building a business and then, all this kind of stuff. So I threw it out there into the universe and I thought, okay. And I had never said that out loud before. I never even thought about it, I don't think. Well, 6 months later, I was put on a retainer with a company. And it was an engineering firm. And to me, engineering and sales is like an oxymoron. It just is. And then they were all retired military. So just imagine all of that. And I ended up being on retainer for about 4 months. And the president of the company and I became great friends. And in December, Christmas time, he fired me. Or he let my contract terminate because he wanted to start dating me.
Oh.
And, and it had to be, strictly professional and whatever. So I left the company and...
So did you know that he was going to fire you? To date
I mean, we were such good friends. I mean, when he said to me, I want to date you, I'm like, what? Are you kidding me?
So,
I mean, seriously?
Did he fire you?
Well, you can't, I mean, you can't mix that.
Did he let you know his intentions before he fired you? Or did he just like, you're fired?
No, he said, I need to fire you.
Oh.
And I said, but your people love me. And he said, I know that, but it's a conflict of interest. And I said, I don't understand it. He goes, you're really an intelligent woman, and I can't believe you don't understand what I'm trying to say to you. And when he told me, I'm like, are you kidding me? Seriously? But anyway, so when you ask me what I'm looking for, I'm looking for, and I know it sounds silly if I say I want to be happy, but I am looking for that happiness that people get when they're in the right place, in the right season of their life, in the right time of their life. And I am truly happy. I'm truly happy. We actually got married in October, so I'm a newlywed.
Yay.
But yeah, hey, high five. But I truly am. I'm happy. I love what I do. I get to meet amazing people. People come up to me and they say, I was going to quit and I came to one more training and you changed my life. Young women say to me, oh, could you just mentor me because I hear all about you all the time. So I'm where I'm supposed to be. And it makes me happy. I have wonderful children. I have 2 new wonderful stepchildren, 3 wonderful grandchildren, step-grandchildren, however it's called. But I'm where I'm supposed to be. So when you say, what are you looking for out of life, I have it. Right now, I have it. Tomorrow, I don't know. But right now, I have it.
Right on. That's incredible. So I'm going to publish the results of this survey, and I'm actually circulating a hard copy of the survey. So maybe I'll even get that to you, and you can circulate it too. But what an answer to that question. And I think that's the data from this survey needs to be heard, because I'm hearing a lot of different things that people are looking for. Happiness does come up, but balance, consistency, momentum come up a lot.
And I think that for women especially, you'll always hear balance. And people say to me, well, how do you stay in balance? Well, first you have to be in balance to stay in balance. But I made a deal with my husband, and I said that, okay, again, we live in 2 different cities right now because he's on a contract in one city and I'm here. And so I get to see him on the weekends. And I made a promise that I wouldn't work on the weekends. Okay, so I have to be free of everything that I do has to be done by Friday night when he gets here, so we can do fun things. Now we both, go back into our work mode a little bit, but that's my balance. My balance is that I do what I have to do during the week, so I get to do what I want to do with him over the weekends. So balance is very big for women because it's very hard. If I had little children, it would be another story, but my kids are grown, so balance is very big. No.
Yeah, that's it.
But you notice that most people don't say, money. It doesn't come up.
Yeah, you know what? This survey's getting deep as far as results already, and I don't remember that we've had one money.
No. You won't. It's the same thing when you say to a company, what motivates your team, and they go, oh, money does. We give them money. That's not what it is. No. It's not what it is. For me, it was never about money. It was about recognition.
Yeah.
And guess what? If you get recognized, obviously you're making money because you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. So money is not the answer, even though everybody says, oh, if I made $1 million, and then what? You'd still be unhappy? But you'd be rich and unhappy? So, yeah.
Totally. I completely get you. So, and I would say that happiness combined with lifestyle is what a lot of people are looking for.
I agree.
Both. Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. So, and that's the little trick when you play the life wheel game that I told you about, the abundance life wheel game, and that's part of the secret, is that when you score it, those are the 2 areas that I think everybody really are looking for, and then you'll score the rest of it, and you'll see there's some magic that happens when you see the rest. So, yeah. Well, we're coming to the end, and I want to talk to you about your next book. Your first book was called Selling in a Skirt, The Secrets Women Don't Know They Know About Sales and What Men Should Know Too. And then you're talking about how you're releasing a second book. Would you want to share that? Do you have a cover of it there?
Yeah, hang on a second. Hold on.
Woohoo, this is going to be fun. She hasn't even released it yet, so we're getting a sneak peek right off, just like that.
Okay, here it is. I knew it was here. Can you see this?
New book! Coming soon! Famous Isn't Enough. Earning a Living as an Entrepreneur.
Yes. Yes, it's me. So it's about the good, the bad, and the better about being an entrepreneur. And it's like a roadmap. It takes you to the different stages. And in part of the book, it's going to say to you, okay, so if you're here now and you're shaking your head going, oh my God, this is not for me, you're right. You're right. But if you're here now and you're saying, okay, I'm still good, you're right as well. Because, at some point, there's a reason why people shouldn't be entrepreneurs. And I'm going to point it out where you should or shouldn't be. So there's a lot of stories in here, and there's a lot of exercises and a lot of things to journal about, and it should be ready by the end of the month. So I'm excited.
Yay! Awesome. Very cool. So we're gonna have a link on the website here on the abundancecoaching.ca/TV. We're gonna have a link on the website for your book when it's released. So you'll get that to us. That'd be awesome. Very cool. Tell us how we can connect with you. How can people find you?
Sellinginaskirt.com is my website, and you can email me at judy@sellinginAskirt, however you want to do it. It's all about selling in a skirt, and got lots of good things going on my website, so take advantage of it.
Right on. Very cool. Do you have like if you sign up, you get a certain gift or something like that on your website too?
Well, yeah, if you sign up, there's 2 special reports that you'll get. One is about the 3 key secrets to gender differences in your office, and it has amazing information. And the other one is about social media and how it's changed the way we do work. So you get those for free if you click on that. And also, I'm also doing, a free strategy session to help you start your path. And it's, again, I do men and women. More women are taking advantage of it. So if you're interested in doing that, it's just Judy@sellinginAskirt. Tell them, just tell me that they heard me on your interview, and they get a free strategy session.
Yay! Woohoo! Cool.
Yeah.
So for the people in the audience, I hope that you were inspired. And I'm just going to put it out there. At the very beginning, I told the audience that this is life coaching TV that makes a difference.
Absolutely.
And I know that this episode made a difference. If it didn't make a difference for you, then you probably weren't listening. You probably just need to replay it again. And I think that this one covers so many different age barrier demographics. Some of the episodes that we have are very focused and kind of niched on a certain topic, but this one could really just have that timelessness to do with it. I think that you were just incredible. This was so much fun.
Oh,
thank you so much for being on our show.
I'm so excited to be here, and if there's anything that anybody needs, I am here. So, and I'm looking forward to you being on my radio program soon.
Yes, awesome, and I'll let you know people on our list here when that'll be as well. Phenomenal. So welcome again to Abundance Coaching TV, and thank you for joining us. We air every Wednesday at 7 o'clock Central Time, 5 o'clock Pacific, and 8 o'clock Eastern Time. Once again, this is Abundance Coaching TV, life coaching TV that makes a difference. Until we chat again, live with passion and have abundance in life.